Hello, welcome back. It's already been 2 weeks since my first episode. Things have been very busy with work and everything, so I didn't have the time to record something new, but I did advance quite a lot with the project, at least considering what I was planning. So the first thing I would like to show is my Trello board. So I created this board in order to help me keep myself organized during the development of this game and the engine behind it. It's very huge. It took me lots of time. I'm not even sure if it was worth it, but eventually I figured out a way to upload content to Trello, use a JSON file, and that make things way easier. And I suppose now it's gonna be a good guide to help me keep the project on track. So I added everything from learning resources that I want to check out to the development of the engine itself, the mechanics I'm already planning for the game, the release and everything. So far it has 2 years, which is very, very aggressive, but I'd rather just postpone some phases rather than get lazy because I think I have lots of time. Well, apart from that, I already started at least organizing my folder structure and implement some very, very basic stuff. So I have something to build upon. So the first thing I did was organize my structure, how I think is a good way to keep the project maintainable in the long term. So I divided the project in 3 main folders, one being engine itself, where I have both the header files and the CPP files. External, where I have all the libraries I'm planning to use, and here I'm using 2 different strategies, right? For example, for this library for logging, it's a very huge dependency, so I went with a submodule. I'm using Git to use this as a submodule. For the others, for example, this JSON library, it's just a header file, so I directly downloaded it from Git. Of course, everything that I'm using has its license attached to the project, so everything is following its legal demands. Then there is the game folder that's very similar to the engine folder, meaning that there is a folder for the header files and another one that organizes the CPP files. Even though there are lots of folders here, they are not populated yet, right? They are more like placeholders. So again, it helps me keep everything organized. Apart from that, I already implemented the CMake list files. I decided to use CMake to organize the dependencies of the project, because even though I know there are simpler solutions out there, CMake is the one that I'm most familiar with. So for example, this is the root CMake. It's quite simple so far. It's just set some standards. I have here linked some packages, add some directories, nothing crazy. And here, of course, it copies the license files to the build directory every time I compile the game or the engine. And then within the folders itself, there are other CMake files. So for example, here for the game, it takes care of everything that is inside this folder. Same for the engine. And there is also one, this is the one for the external libraries. So everything that I think I'm gonna use, it's taken care here. And another one here for the engine. On that, I decided to use Ninja to compile, just because I think it performs very well on Mac, and I like that it doesn't recompile files that haven't been modified. I know that I think Clang does the same, but I think Ninja, as the project grows, it has a better performance. That, at least in my experience, that's how it's been. So with that, as I said, I've already implemented some very basic things. So I have an application class here inside core. So this application class, it only sets the foundation for testing the window creation. So for example, here I'm just defining what I want on the window once I open it, defining some constructor and some destructor. It's still very basic. There is nothing fancy here. It's more for testing all of these dependencies, if they are working well together. Something that I came across, and it was a bit of a bummer, was that I found out that Apple removed the support to OpenGL in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, probably due to the fact that they want people to use the metal. So I decided to use just an older version of OpenGL that still works, 4.1. And coming back to the classes, there is also a window class that I already implemented, very basic, just setting up the attributes to OpenGL. And the last thing I would like to share is this script that I put here on the root of the project. It doesn't do anything with the project itself, but it saves me lots of time every time I have to compile, because instead of coming here and calling CMake and calling Ninja, I can just call this script and it gives me some options. For example, I can rebuild the whole project, and automatically when I call this function, let me see if I find it here. Here, it checks the dependencies, it cleans the build, it configures CMake, and it builds the project. So everything is here encapsulated, calling these helper functions, so I don't have to do things manually. For example, deleting the build folder if I want a clean build. So now that I just rebuilt, I can also use the same script to test if everything is working correctly. So build.sh, and now I'm gonna use the run command instead, the run argument rather, and it opens a window. As I said, it's not doing anything yet, but at least it shows that everything is working as expected. And now that I have this foundation, I'm gonna actually go back and start working on the other dependencies of the project, mainly focusing on the engine right now, so implementing other functionalities. And as soon as I have something interesting to show, we'll come back. So thank you again if you've been here until now, and if you want to see how this project is gonna come up, so just stick together, subscribe if you want, and I see you next time. Bye bye.